So if you have any questions, we'll try to keep questions short and answers short. And I will try to field it and direct you to one of the panel members, and they can try to answer your questions. If I can answer it, I will. I'll open the floor. Anybody have a question, move to the microphone and speak up, if you will. I've got a little hearing problem, so I'm going to try to understand what you're saying. Anybody up to bat? Hold it, I see a movement in the back. I see a movement in the front. Kyle? Are you headed to the restroom, or are you going to make it?
I said, can I have two questions?
All right, let it go.
First one was, where can we obtain the new power of attorney forms that was mentioned earlier?
Okay. And I think, well, let me ask me to answer. That's more in his line of work, or Jeannie or Bill, somebody. Can you answer that question?
Well, I know that the Virginia State Bar website does have several versions of the medical directive form. I'm not sure, Bill, I don't know if you know whether they have the general power form or not, but the medical directive is something you can access there to designate a medical power of attorney.
Okay. And my second question, if I may, if you have a will, I have a will, my younger brother is now deceased, but he was listed in my will. Can I cross his name out and insert his son name, or is that something I need to?
That would be ill-advised.
Okay.
Just because it
And
can have
maybe
some
illegal.
can have some unintended results when you try to make hand
Right.
changes on a will, because you oftentimes don't go through the same formalities of the
Okay.
witnessing and so it can definitely lead to unintended results.
I need to come to you guys.
I'll be glad to help you.
Okay, thank you.
Pick your poison. Okay, thank you, Kyle. Over here.
Bill, probably be for me, but the question, I know every state has different laws about how wills are to be made. If you make a will in Virginia and you move to North Carolina and you die down there, is there going to be a problem because the will was written in a different state from which you die, in the state in which you die?
That's an excellent question. You know, I used to do a bunch of wills, and I would always use 3 witnesses, although Virginia only requires 2. And the reason I did was because some states required 3, and you could run into the problem of maybe. But there's been a lot of movement in that area, and I'm going to defer to one of these.
I'll be glad to cover it, and then anyone else can jump in. But generally, if the will is validly executed in the state you were living at the time it was made, it's respected in other jurisdictions. But if you do make a permanent move, I mean, it's always good to consult with an attorney in the new state just to see if there is anything that needs to be done with your documents, or that they have any recommendations.
That answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Another question? Anybody? All right, I have a comment. Wait a minute. Reverend Horsfield has a question.
What happens, you got the living will or the living, you got all your paperwork done for the loved one is taken care of with the family. They have COPD. This happened to my own family. Dad has COPD. He's requested to be a DNR. He doesn't want to be put on a ventilator. Everything's been signed. Everything's been taken care of. The family knows this. It's a concept. He's been in and out of the hospital several times. He finally goes to the hospital, and now he's unconscious. He's really having trouble breathing. The family is witnessing Dad gasping for air like a fish out of water. Now what do you do when they decide that maybe that ventilator would be a good idea? How much power does that paperwork have when the time actually comes to see it put into action about not having the ventilator used and those types of things?
Okay. Want to try it on this side, somebody?
Bill, I hate to say this, but it really depends on what it says. But I believe the language in most of them it says, if I reach the point where my life can only be prolonged artificially, then in that event, I direct that no artificial means be used to prolong my life. And the hospitals usually have people who know what that means. And the other question is, when I do healthcare proxies, or the living will, as you call it, the advanced medical directive, the form provides for proxy. You name a proxy to make the decision. Do you know if yours has that? You need to look at that, because there may be a proxy in the advanced medical directive who actually has the power under that instrument. I recommend that people don't become proxies or appoint proxies. I was my mother's proxy, and it wasn't easy to say, well, you talked me into it, Doc, but he did. And that's not easy, to be the one who says, okay, it's time to let mom go or dad go or whoever. So it depends. If there is a proxy, it's pretty much up to the proxy in consultation with your dad's doctors.
I guess everybody wants to do the right thing.
Yes.
And when there's siblings watching dad suffer, and they were there and heard him say he didn't want to be on the ventilator, he didn't want to be DNR, but now he's suffering. And, it goes from a concept to a reality.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. You know what he wants, but you can't watch him suffer. Or it's very hard.
Is he in Virginia?
He's been gone now for 2 or 3 years. He's gone. Yeah, he was in Virginia.
Because Virginia also has a statute that says the healthcare providers are supposed to follow the wishes of the children. And there are situations where there's no advanced medical directive, but if the family can get together and work on the hospital powers that be, they're supposed to follow the directions of the family.
Well, I know that this was my father-in-law. I heard him say in front of the doctor he did not want to be put on the ventilator. But then it came to the point where he couldn't make that decision anymore, and the family was there, and everyone knew what he wanted, but now he couldn't breathe. And
I think, again, the doctor has to certify that the person is incapable of living without artificial means, such as a feeding tube.
I have a question.
Singerman has a question.
Is he on hospice or anything of that sort?
no.
Is anybody monitor him? Because I'm thinking, why is comfort measures not being put in place to keep that from struggling, what you're witnessing?
Well,
Comfort measures
he
wouldn't
was
be
in and
so
out of the
bad.
hospital several times.
Okay.
He was a resident in a local nursing home. He went to the hospital for something unrelated to the COPD. And all of a sudden, this thing kicked in. And my wife was one of the siblings, and they heard him say what he wanted to say, or wanted done. But the main thing is, it went from a concept to a reality.
Yes.
And that's, it was a concept. I don't want to be, but now the realities, and this happened like quick. It wasn't like over weeks. I mean, I'm talking less than 3 or 4 hours.
Right. So what's the family want to do?
They wanted the comfort care. They wanted him to be comfortable.
Comfortable measures, and
Yeah.
I would suggest you find out if that couldn't be done. Instead of the ventilator, like he did not want, I would ask for comfort measures.
Well,
That's
the
a
blessing
possibility.
was he didn't last long.
Oh,
Aha, I knew there was an ending to
okay.
this.
Yeah. But I mean, I just was curious because this happens quite often.
Just for your information, I've added to the advanced medical directives that I do that if the care is rendered contrary to my wishes stated herein, it shall be considered gratuitous and an assault and battery on my person, which means once I say that, your bill ain't worth anything, hospital, and you could even be charged with assault and battery for, inserting the feeding tube or whatever. But it is a reality, and it's not easy I can tell one quick story. A guy came to me, very strong Catholic, and he was told that his doctor wanted him to be moved from Bath County to the hospital down here for the insertion of a feeding tube. Dad said, no way, no way, no way. I gave him a copy of the statute about the family's wishes. The nursing home director said not doing it would be tantamount to murder. And he called me on Saturday and he said, you won't believe what they did. 6 o'clock this morning, they loaded Daddy into the ambulance and took him to the hospital. I said, oh my God, they can't do that. And he said, yeah, but Daddy got the best of him. He died on the way.